We set up, I was following a festival, which I'll go into in a minute, and there's a real diverse mix of interests, at least in our case, and I believe this is the case in London and some of the other social media cafes as well. We have everybody from politicians, through to business people, through to students, through to artists, public sector, charities, all mixing in the same room. And what you get there is a real interesting melting pot of ideas, because suddenly you're bringing together all these different people with all their different ideas and their different spin on the world, and you're getting them to think together. And that creates innovation, and good innovation, rather than just kind of needlessly creating new technology projects or products that make it look good on paper. You've got huge numbers, but don't necessarily actually do anything. And they don't have any form of structure, so there's no structure to it, there's no speech, there's nothing. You just put the people in the room and you let them get on with it. And my role when I go to these meetings is really just to link people up together and say, have you met so-and-so, have you met so-and-so? And it's kind of like hosting a party, and that's pretty much it. This guy's the chap who formed the first Tussle Club up in London. And basically, his reason for creating it was that he found that lots and lots of business people and lots of freelancers were hooking up on social networking sites like Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and all the others, and then organising to meet for coffee. So all over London, in his particular case, there was hundreds of meetings all going on at the same time in coffee shops. And some people were beginning to find it overwhelming that they were going to something like 20, 30 of these coffees a week. Besides the fact they were obviously very caffeinated by now and kind of spilling out. It seemed easier to get everybody together on the same day of the week every week, so that everybody could just mix and get around all of these meetings, expand their networks and work out ideas. And that's kind of where it came from, really. And you see this purple link at the bottom, you can't really see it from up there, but that, if you click on that, it will take you to the full story of how they started. Just a couple of pictures of our social media cafes. That's our first meeting. We started in a bar in Truro. Then we tried a little bit of speed networking, which was a structure, and that failed miserably, so we stopped doing that. And now pretty much it's a jolly down the pub once a month. But it works very well for our members. They think we're insane up in London because they have theirs at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Friday, and hence the name cafe. So we've kind of turned more into a social media pub. I've noticed quite a few other social media cafes seem to be following on that one. So your local social media cafe, which is launching on the 25th of March, and needs you, can be found at cheltsocialmediacafe.org.uk. And this is the way to connect those local people in your community who are going to probably be the social media influencers or public relations influencers of the future. So if you can get a chance to get onto this, I recommend this as an event. So in terms of the results, we get about 20 to 30 attendees at each event, but it's been increasing steadily all the way along. We've got 150 members on Facebook now, 424 followers on Twitter, but most importantly, everyone has a great time. So therefore, they go off and they talk about it. They've had a positive experience, and they go off and broadcast about that to all of their friends and their network, which is why we're gradually increasing over time. And the things that have come out of it are collaborations between businesses, people employing members of the group. So it's having real benefits to the community. And as I said, new ideas and collaborations kicking off all the time. So at one of our next events, I believe we're hopefully going to have someone come down who is one of the guys involved with the whole Rage Against the Machine winning the #1 at Christmas. And it's kind of those weird partnerships you get. Sorry, what was that? I didn't hear someone who spoke. And lastly, I'm going to quickly go through Twestival Global. How many of you have ever heard of Twestival? Keep your hand up. Oh, excellent. Okay. Has anyone actually been to one? Oh, okay. That's good. Which one did you go to? Sorry, which one did you go to?
The Bristol one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did you think?
Thought it was bloody amazing. One of the organisers.
Oh. That's good. Are you an organiser this time?
No.
Okay. We'll talk about that.
Leave that. Got to share it around, haven't you,
Yeah, that's fair enough. Did you do the Twestival local or global?
Sorry, say that again.
Did you do the Twestival local or the global one?
Local.
You did the local?
Yeah.
Because that went down...
Dan Martin?
Yeah, set down for the local.
No, he's done that. He set down this year.
Right.
We'll probably talk after, so... You know.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
And a lot of social media relies on putting some value back into the community. This is why PR and spin doesn't really work. And again, one of the reasons we're at this stage, both from a corporate perspective and political perspective, whichever way you look at it, is because people are bored, silly, and sick of PR and spin. Because everybody actually understands it. The game's up. People know that press releases are written, they read a story, and they can see blatantly it originated from a PR consultancy. People know that all politics and statistics all of a sudden are made up on the spot and kind of used to manipulate our view of them so people don't believe them anymore. Likewise, companies have been playing the same game with branding and target markets and channels and everything else. All of this language is now familiar to the wider public. And at that point, the game's kind of up, the magic's over. They know how the trick's working. So now we're looking for authenticity and giving something back and a real transparency. So Twestival brings together all those different parts of the local community. And what makes it unique are 100% of the ticket sales and the donations go to one chosen charity. In the global case, they all go all around the globe to one charity globally. On the Twestival local case, then there are lots of different local events, and each local event gives its donations to a charity selected by the local community. 100% of the people working on the local events are volunteers. So there'll be a lead organiser in each local area, and then they'll have a committee of people working around them, and all of those people will be volunteers giving up their own time to make the event happen. And the events, I can tell you, are absolutely the most stressful thing you'll ever do to organise, because you can't spend any money on them. Anything you do spend, you've got to get back in sponsorship somehow before you even get to the events. You've got to find a way of paying for it. The structure's quite loose, so you've got all of this kind of communication coming in from different areas and everything else. So it's a real challenge, but these people put their back into it, and they use all of these social media tools to completely coordinate and market the events from scratch. And they happen, generally, there's about 3 to 4 weeks from the moment you get told you're going to do one, or the moment you decide to do one, to the event actually happening. So if you can imagine unpaid trying to put on an event in 4 weeks, for potentially 200 people, then you've got some idea of what's kind of going on. And all events are coordinated to take place on the same evening, in this case 25th of March 2010, all around the world. So every event will happen sometime after 5 o'clock on the 25th of March 2010. And the simple message behind this year's one is that everyone in the world deserves an education, and 72 million children in the world don't go to school. And there's a proven link between education and relieving poverty. So here's all of the UK and Ireland events. Give you some idea of the kind of scale of this event. Don't you just love PowerPoint animation? Sorry, you've had a lot of PowerPoint this evening. And hopefully, I would like to see one in Cheltenham, but I'm bound to, because I'm the South West Regional Coordinator, so it's my job to make more of these events happen. And when I was in Exeter doing a similar presentation in a week, I was in front of, I don't know, 350 people in the room, 2,000 people on the internet. And luckily I knew that the city centre manager, and he's going to kill me for saying this because I know it's been a video, John Harvey was in the audience. So I made a big point of saying, reading this list of cities out and going, in fact, one of the only ones missing is Exeter. And as a result, Exeter has now got a committee together and is now putting on an event. So hopefully, you'll take notice of that as well, make one happen in Cheltenham. And it would be good to see the social media cafe kind of lead that. You don't need to charge for the event, it's all about bringing together the local community, raising awareness of the charitable work, but at the same time, raising whatever you can for the particular charity chosen, which this year is Concern Worldwide.